Okay, gang, here we go with the manager, Craig Minervini. Go right ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. We just got an update on the injury list. I guess it's bright news. Is Miggy being right out there today and seeing Brian? How much does that warm your heart there as you return home?
No, it's good. And Miggy's probably, I would say, further along than Andy at this point. Miggy's going to start. He was walking into the cage as I was walking this way, and it sounds like maybe he'll take some ground balls today. So that progression looks like it's getting closer to baseball activity, and the healing's still going on. We have to be careful with a few things, but they have the doctors have approved him, moving in this direction.
So you don't anticipate a long time potentially with him. Everything goes well.
Well, we continue to heal, obviously, and get a progression. It's not quite like a starter's progression where he gets to play and can't play for 5 more days. But we got to get him. If we can get him to the point where we got to get him to the point where he can play rehab games and be able to test that thing in that kind of competition, get a little bit of timing, and that really should be a lot shorter than obviously a guy that has to wait 5 days in between every start.
Donnie, is this a home sweet home? I know it was it's been long. Welcome back.
Yeah, it feels good to be back. Honestly, it is home sweet home. I think just to get back off the road, we obviously it's been a lot of talk about it, and I really would like to get past it, move forward. But the reality of it was that it did feel long.
Christina?
Don, with Castano, is there a further update?
No real updates. We'll be making a move today. I can say that. We haven't. I don't think we've announced it yet. I know it's close, and what exactly we're going to do. But he's still feeling it back there. So they were looking at him. He came into the office this morning or this afternoon. So So no more information we had yesterday.
With Jordan scheduled, I think, for another rehab outing on Thursday, it might be just how, I think what he threw 40 something pitches, just, is he still following, I guess, that starter's progression where you want him at like 75 before he comes back?
I'd say get him in that direction. Like his next one, I think they're talking about 55 to 60. And then if, depending on where we're willing to go with that, or, if they want him to make another start, that gets him into that 75 range and kind of where you're pretty comfortable. We're hoping the next one goes good. The last one was good. Try to build his pitches up, but not only his pitches, but his ups, making sure he's getting, hopefully this time it turns into 4 ups, even if it's 3 1/3 or whatever it is, but if we can get the ups going, that helps that progression.
Craig Mish?
Hey, Donnie, welcome back. Good to see you. Donnie, I have nothing serious today. I do have one fun comment for you, and I'm just kind of wondering, yesterday, maybe over the last month, Rod Carew is now on Twitter, and he's tweeting and posting a lot of different things. And Donnie, with all due respect, if Rod Carew can do it, I mean, how can we get Donnie Baseball on there doing that too? Any shot of that happening ever?
Yeah, maybe. I wonder if Rod's doing it himself or he has someone that's doing it for him and his information or wherever he wants out there. But I'm glad you said that name. That puts a smile on my face. That was my guy as a kid, one of my favorite players. Emulated him in a lot of things I tried to do. So maybe I should follow my idol, right? And do it.
Yeah, he posted a picture yesterday. He has a new book, I guess, coming out, and he posted a picture of him and George Brett both taking a knee on the field because I guess the Royals played the Angels last night, and I know that you were a fan of his, and I got to tell you, my response to that was, that was back when hitting 350 was really cool, and it actually meant something. And I know that the game has changed in so many ways, but it did pick up a ton of traction. It made me feel good to see that too.
Yeah, Georgie is another guy. All right, he's another guy that, that was the guy for me, past Rod, Rob is a guy winning batting titles. I think he won 7 or something like that. And then George was that guy that hit for high average, but was dangerous. Hit some homers and a lot of doubles and did damage and played extremely hard. I loved playing against, George. Seeing him on the field was like, kind of like you would think a young player seeing, one of those type guys. And you love playing against the guys like that.
Well, have a good week, Donnie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go to David Lang.
Hey, how's it going, Donnie? Question for you. Last night you seemed really upbeat after the game. It seems like you saw something in the team that really was encouraging for you moving forward. So what is it that you saw in yesterday's game that had you feeling so good about their performance moving forward?
Just that fight got back in us last night. I felt like, we'd been through a lot on that road trip. We lost some tough games. We're going back to Boston. When we thought it was going to be an off day, we're flying backwards instead of flying home. And so you never know what you're going to get. And I was just encouraged by the effort we got last night. And obviously that's not a win. But in my mind, if we play like that on a daily basis, we're going to win. We're going to win a lion's share of games. And I was really encouraged by that last night. The fight that we had, I thought was really good, even into the last inning. Guys were fighting to get on base. We stole some bags last night. We were aggressive. I was really just encouraged by the way we played, the way the bullpen stepped up. They knew that, once Castano, came back into the training room before the game, that we were going to have to use guys that we didn't want to use. And before the game, they were like, hey, we got you. That type of thing. And that attitude and mentality is a little toughness that you like to see out of your club. And something that I think we got to get back into. We got to be a little tougher club and a little more fight. And I think that's why I was so upbeat last night. It was the club that, really proud of the way they played last night.
Ron, go ahead. You there?
There. I'm here. Donnie, from what you saw last year of Eddie Alvarez and you've seen in the reports and him in the minors last year, what do you like about him and what does he have to do to improve to get to the level where he'd be back in the majors?
Well, we've seen Eddie in spring the last 2 years, and he is impressive from the standpoint of a pretty good understanding of the game, plays multiple positions, plays fast. Obviously a switch hitter, got popped probably a little better from the left side, but gives you a lot of versatility. And I think Eddie will get back to the big leagues. He's a kid that obviously has had to fight in his life for a lot of things and work hard. Seen some of his comments about going back to the Olympics. I thought that was great. So yeah, I think he'll end up back in the big leagues, especially if everybody needs guys that can do all the things that he can do. And I thought the game last year was probably good for him. Got a little fast. I thought he was trying almost too hard, tried to force the issue at times, but he did a lot of things that show you that this guy can play at the big league level.
Thank you.
Daniel Rodriguez.
Hey, Donnie, I wanted to ask you about the Marlins farm system. It's just been on fire recently. JJ Bleday got named Player of the Week, and Jake Eater threw 5 perfect innings. What have you seen from the guys in the minors and maybe the hopes for the future where all these guys are just going off this year?
Yeah, I mean, I follow our clubs every day and just kind of day to day following them, and I get a little better view of, you can have a good week, but you see the consistency when you look at it every day, and that's what you like to see. Jesus Sanchez is a guy that's stood out. Lewin's been really good. Our pitching's been good. You mentioned Jake, who's a guy we've seen in spring training. So all that's encouraging. And I think I know we probably publicize prospects more now than ever, and people know more about them. And I really just try to keep that in perspective, not get too excited, because you see what happened last year, and you see what happens all the time with guys that come up. There's still a learning curve, and you don't know when that quite clicks in for this level. So even though you get excited, you still have a little bit of, you have something in there that tells you that that's still not a finished product, and you don't quite know what that's going to be like at this level. So
Thank you.
I don't want to downplay it, but I also want to temper it, like in your expectations or even our expectations when a guy comes up thinking he's going to be able to do the same things here that he was able to do in the minor leagues.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, guys.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Marlins General Manager Kim Ang is here, joining us over Zoom. Hopefully we'll move closer to being able to do this in person soon. So we'll take questions if you want to put those hands up. Okay, Christina, go right ahead.
Yeah, hi Kim. I think we're 39% through the season. Just where do you see the club right now on June 8th?
Sure, yeah. I think the last 10 days or so has definitely not been where we want to be. I think right prior to this period, we were very close to 500. And obviously we had an extraordinarily tough road trip. I think, as I reflect on it, the bullpen has probably been one of the strongest, if not the strongest component of the club. And obviously, when they go through a rough patch, everybody feels it. So it's been a rough stretch, no doubt. But I think that, while the injuries have hurt us, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll start to see a couple guys back that'll give us a little bit more relief that we need.
With the injuries, they've been piling up a bit. Has there been maybe more sense of urgency to look outside the organization for help on that front?
We've been looking. We're always looking to improve the club. In terms of the guys that we've brought up, they've done a decent job, but we need more help, and we're constantly looking.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, hi, Kim. To follow up on Christina, specifically with starting pitching, Mel mentioned that there were conversations about that. Where do you see the club right now with starting pitching? Because it seemed like just outside of the main three, it's just been continuing turnstile there.
Right. So, I think, again, we've had, different guys come up. Obviously we found Cody Petit, who helped us fill in one of those spots for some time. He's now on the injured list, but we're hoping to get him back at some point here soon. We have Jordan Holloway, who's out on a rehab assignment. So hopefully we'll be getting him back soon. We've got Neidert out, who we're hoping to get back in a couple of weeks. So, we've got some guys coming back. In terms of looking outside the organization, we have done that. But, we're going to continue to look.
And then secondly, this last weekend you were down at AA. You got to see a few of the bigger guys out there. What was your impression over those couple days?
Yeah, got to see a couple of very good games. Got to see Max Meyer, Jake Eater, some of the position players, Burdick, Blade. Max Meyer and Jake Eater did very well. Blade hit a home run. So Burdick hit a triple. So it was a good couple of days to be down there.
Was that your first time at one of the affiliates this year since the minor league season started?
Yes, it was.
And do you plan to get to the others at some point?
Yes, hopefully in probably the next month or so, 4 to 6 weeks.
All right, Josh Moser.
Hi, Kim. Good to see you. A lot of fans are really excited about Jazz Chisholm's play. How would you assess how he's done in his rookie season up to this point?
I think Jazz has done great. You know, he obviously was hurt for a bit, but has come back. You know, I think you know, helped. He definitely helps the lineup. We see it. We see it almost every day. He's a dynamic player. You know, between the power, the speed, the defense, and so we're real excited with what he's done this year.
What more are you wanting to see from him the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think from Jazz, you know, and I think this, you can say this with a lot of young players, we're just looking for consistency. You know, we're looking for consistency in the at-bats, as well as the defense. You know, and you know, when he comes up, we want to have a decent, you know, we want to have a pretty good idea of what he's going to do. I don't necessarily mean an outcome, but I mean in terms of the quality at-bats.
All right, next we'll go to Craig Mish.
Hi, Kim. Good afternoon.
Hi, Craig.
Good to see you. I have a few, but I'll start off with this one. You know, Starling Marte was acquired last year by the organization. He'll become a free agent at the end of the 2021 season. Have you had any discussions with his representatives potentially about extending him? And do you feel like he is a long-term part of the organization? Thank you.
I have not had any conversations with his representatives about him being here longer term. I think Starling has been a great part of the team. I know he was obviously hurt for a bit, but we've got him back, and obviously, yeah, I think he plays a big part for us. So I'm interested in seeing how he does. You know, considering he just got back this past road trip, and seeing what he does in the near future.
Craig, did you want to throw one more in there while you got the floor?
Yeah, I have a few. I'll come back at the end. Sorry for that. If you wouldn't mind, Kim, when Sixto Sanchez back in March had an issue and he was placed on the injured list, I'm wondering, just without me asking any further questions, could you provide sort of a timeline as to what has happened since then with his program and where he stands now? I personally just am a little confused as to kind of the injury he had then, what happened since then, and sort of his path where he is now, if you can.
Sure. I mean, I think in terms of Sixto, he has, you know, he's got his shoulder that I can't remember exactly what we termed it, but he's had an issue with his shoulder. It's really just been trying to get him, you know, back up on the mound. He's had a setback, which you guys were notified last week, but has been cleared by the doctor to now start throwing again.
Just one more thing. Was the setback that he had the same?
No.
It was not.
No. It was a little bursitis.
Okay. Thank you.
Barry Jackson.
Hi, Kim. Nice to see you. A couple of things. With as dominant as Jake Eater has been, and to a lesser extent Max Meyer, have you guys discussed at all the possibility of bringing them up, either one of them this summer, or do you and the organization feel like they need a full season of minor league baseball in their first professional season and their first pitching really in 1.5 to 2 years?
Yeah, you know, I mean, we have talked about the two of these guys just in terms of their own personal performances and how they've done, and you know, marveled in some ways. But we have not talked about them coming up to the big leagues.
Okay.
I don't anticipate that being a part of our conversation.
Terrific. Is that in the immediate future? Or you think for the full year, they probably should spend the year in the minors?
I would say I would hope that they stay in the minor leagues. And you know, again, we just get to see them down there.
And one other quick question. Obviously, it's far too premature to be thinking about what you'll do if you're out of contention, because there's a lot of time left in the season and you're in a division that's tightly bunched. But if you all find yourselves out of contention come early August, is there a case to be made for promoting a bunch of your kids, Jesus Sanchez, we'll see where Burdick and Blade are, et cetera, Lewin Diaz, just to see going into the offseason what you have with your young players, how they hit major league pitching? And again, it's early to do that. Obviously, you're not doing that now. But if it comes early August where you're out of contention or late August, is that something you would think would have value or merit?
Yeah, I think for a small number of them, yes.
Thanks, Kim.
Andy Slater.
Hi, Kim. I have 7 less questions than Craig and Barry, so I'll make this pretty quick. You judge a lot, I'm sure, coaches, manager, players on how they produce. When it comes to all these injuries, how do you look at this? Do you look at it through your medical staff, strength and conditioning? How do they get judged?
Sure. What I think we're going through is not necessarily it's not uncommon from what's going on in the rest of the industry. And so, I think, we first had to put it into context. And, from what we saw and what we looked at, we are definitely very middle of the pack in terms of what's gone on. But I do think, look, I think when something like this happens, you do need to ask yourself questions. And I think you have to, try and gain an understanding of what's happened and why. And I think we're still going through that. And hopefully we do get some answers at some point here.
Thank you.
Let's go back to Christina.
Kim, you mentioned the bullpen and just, how they've kind of carried you guys. I'm just curious at this point, maybe a part of the ball club you wish had performed better or maybe up to your expectations so far and what can be done to get them back to that level.
Yeah, look, I think, with the bullpen, some of this, you just lose it for a little bit. That everybody goes through their ups and downs. I think, in particular with the bullpen, because they're in such high pressure situations, it gets magnified, and the games are on the line with them. So, I do think, again, we ran through a tough stretch here, but I haven't lost confidence in them. I look at the entire body of work, which is about 60 games now. I would just say that each night they go out and, I think for me, I've erased it from my mind in terms of what they've done the night before, because there is, a fairly good sample size at this point as to what they are capable of.
Jordan.
Hey, Kim, we talked about Sixto, but another pitcher who's been on the rehab mend, Edward Cabrera, he threw a rehab game in Jupiter. He's supposed to throw another one this week. After that, what is the next step for him? Where do you think the progression goes after he finishes up his rehab work in Jupiter?
Sure. Well, we haven't necessarily decided how much he's going to go. So I think we need to get to that point. But after that, we'd look at a reinstatement. And try and get him out there. He is pitching in real games, but get him out there at a higher level.
And then just one more for me, just how would you evaluate the offense overall through the first 60 games, or now that we're at game 60?
Yeah, with the offense, and I think I've mentioned this before, I never anticipated them being, us being a real high scoring team. I don't think that's how we're constructed. We've always said that we were very pitching centric. So, I think, I looked at it over the last day or so, 70% of our games are determined by 3 runs or less. And I think that says something about the pitching, that with our pitching, we're very much in it most of the time. And with the offense, I think that really magnifies the importance of each and every run. So, I think if we had, if we could get some more timely runs, this, we'd look a little bit different.
David Lang.
Hey, Kim, how you doing? I'm wondering about sort of the plan coming into the season with relation to the starting pitching. You guys have had the consistency with the first, second, and third starters, but I'm wondering how much you were counting on other guys to get healthy to sort of supplement that, because when you have a 4 and 5 spot where there's so many injuries and so much turnover, that really taxes a bullpen. So I'm just wondering, like, going into the year, how you thought about those 4 and 5 spots and the construction of the starting staff.
Right. I think, I thought 1 through 4, we were fairly solid. We didn't necessarily know exactly what we were going to get out of Trevor Rogers as our 5th starter. I think, as you guys can see, he's been a pretty good, quote, 5th starter. I'm not sure we can call him that anymore. But what I also think you've seen is we've seen, a lot of our younger starting pitching come up. I think the unfortunate part of that is that, they too have been hit by the injury bug. So, the plus and minus, the plus is we had young pitching to come up, minus is they've gotten hit, with injuries. So, I think it goes to the depth, but I think right now, we're at a point where, our depth is definitely being challenged. But, we saw, a guy like Thompson come up, who we saw in spring training, but also do, a real quality job for us.
We'll go back to Craig.
Yes, Kim. I think this may be it for me. I don't know. We'll see. But thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. So the organization signed Corey Dickerson to a 2-year contract last year, and I think this year in particular, some of the struggles may have been more magnified. The other night after a Zoom, he basically alluded to the fact that he's going through a personal situation with his family. And I'm wondering how you can handle that in terms of the organization, because while the production is not there, the player is also going through something. Has there been any consideration potentially in a rare situation? We've seen this in the past where a player is moved closer to where his family is. Is that something that's under consideration? Where do you guys kind of fall into that? And if you don't mind sharing some of those conversations, if you have had any. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not that comfortable in sharing any conversations if we've even had any. Like, I just wouldn't want to go down that road. I think, if a player came to us with something like that, I think it's it's on the personal side, and I wouldn't necessarily want to divulge any of that.
Okay. Well, then I would ask, do you think that his performance is directly correlated to the personal issues that he's had this year? And I'll just use that instead.
I don't know what it's related to. Physically, he's been fine. If this is bothering him, I can't say whether it's a direct correlation.
Okay, thanks.
Andy promised less questions, but he's keeping up. Go ahead, Andy.
Well, if I get 6, it's less than Craig and a couple other people, but it's all good. Kim, one more question, and that is, with all the roles that you've had in Major League Baseball, being a first-time GM now, how are you watching these games? And what's going through your mind differently, like any decision-making or anything of that sort?
Than in my prior positions, or is that what you mean?
Yeah, than in your prior positions.
Well, I'm watching a lot more intently, I can tell you that much. And obviously I've had, as a general manager, I think you need to have a lot more conversations with staff, and, to have a greater understanding of really what's, going on under the hood. So I think it's with a much closer microscope that I've been watching these games. And also knowing sort of, what your plan Bs and plan Cs are, and how those are coming up behind you, and, whether you're well armed or not, but it's just with a much closer magnifying glass in the past.
Have you been personally comfortable with, let's say, all the decisions or any decisions that you've made so far? Or have you ever thought that night or something like, oh, I shouldn't have done that?
Look, I think, we all have our own opinions. I think that, I haven't necessarily agreed with every single decision, but I think you also have staff that, that you've hired, that you have in place that are making those calls. And I would say the same, for them. They probably haven't liked every roster move that we've made up here in the front office, or, you have fans out there who are not always going to agree. So I do think we have our own opinions, but that's okay. I think, as long as you have good communication and open dialogue, you have a better understanding of where each other stands.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Jason. Hi, Kim. You mentioned JJ Bleday earlier, and you saw him at a really good time. He's coming, finishing up a really great week. But it hasn't been all great so far. So what did you see from him that maybe settled the nerves a little bit about his rough start?
Look, I think guys just go through these periods, and so, for everyone, they haven't, they didn't play last year, and some might experience a mid-season, fall off. JJ's just happened to be at the beginning of the season. So, it's a long season. And so, a hitter like JJ Bleday, I'm not really concerned about, but happy he's got it back on track.
And now,
Thanks, Jason. Hey, Kim, thanks for your time. You kind of mentioned them already, but I just wanted to go back to Eater and Meyer. They come straight out of a draft. They get challenged to Double-A, and they're having these starts. So I just wanted to ask you, how rare is that? Have you maybe seen that before in your previous work, and how pleased are you with that?
Let's start with the easiest one first. I'm very pleased with that. I don't think that you see, I do think you see guys go straight to that level, straight to Double-A at times. It doesn't happen that often, but you do see it. I will say to, have this much success at that level as their first entree into professional baseball, I would say is pretty extraordinary. And hopefully an indicator of things to come.
Awesome. If I could ask one quick one to follow it up, Joe Dunand, he went out first week of the season with an injury. Do you have any kind of update? How close is he maybe? Thank you again.
I'd want to make sure I got that accurate for you, so I have to check on it. But I know he's doing much better.
okay, I think we got to them all. Thank you, Kim.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kim.